Ah yes, Spider-Man. The man is no stranger when it comes to video games. The man has easily had some very good ones, but also some really bad ones, but there's no doubt he easily has some really fun video games. The wall crawler of ours hit a pretty rough point in game during the time when Activision was dropping the Amazing Spider-Man games. Now, while The Amazing Spider-Man 1 wasn't a bad game, despite being rushed, its sequel, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, was not as good. This game is what caused Activision to lose the license after so many years, and it left many wondering how the next Spider-Man game would be. Would it be the next Spider-Man 2, which is loved by many and still to this day, or would it just be another TASM 2 flop? Well, at E3 of 2016, we finally got our first look at the wall crawler's next big title being published by Insomniac Games. They were mainly known for the Ratchet & Clank series. This was praised super well by many fans, and once the full game was released, it was loved by many. The game was great and it was super successful. After a bit, we finally got our first spin-off of the Insomniac Spider Universe, Spider-Man Miles Morales, which once again was praised super well. Even though it was a much more shorter game, it still was very good for fans and many loved it. But with those two out of the way, it was only a matter of time until...
Will one of you finally give me what I desire?
On September 19th, 2021, during the State of Play, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 was officially announced for 2023 and was confirmed to be in development, and was confirmed to be a PS5 exclusive. So you best believe many of us worked our asses off to get a PS5 just for this game. Once again, the hype was unreal for this game, and everyone was ready for what was to come. Yeah, the wait for this game wasn't pleasant. We went such a long time without any sort of news. 2021 left us with no news, but that was obviously expected due to the fact that that was the year we got the teaser. But the entirety of 2022 went without anything. No update, no new trailer, just nothing. Until December 15th, 2022, Insomniac Games' official social media accounts confirmed that Spider-Man 2 was set to release in the fall of 2023. This was great. This bit of news made many of us happy. We did go with no news for a few more months, but it was only a matter of time before we saw our first look at gameplay.
Cover the door. The beast could be anywhere. You have no idea. Spider-Man! This whole lizard hunt ends now! Leave Connors alone!
On May 24th, 2023, we finally got the first bit of gameplay for Spider-Man 2, and this was just insane at the time. Everything about it was perfect, unless if you want to sound like some loser on the internet who wanted to just sound different. This was huge for many reasons. Much more about the game we could talk about, how fun the traversal and combat looked, and the fact that we didn't have to see that goddamn image of Peter and Miles looking into the alleyway from our teaser many years back. Sorry. Best part is that we ended up getting our release date not long after. On July 20th, 2023, the game was set to come out on October 20th, 2023. We finally did it. Only a few more months of waiting and we'd finally be able to experience Marvel's Spider-Man 2. It was finally release month for Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and everyone in their damn mind was excited as hell for it to drop. The game finally went gold. Many people who got to play early expressed their love for the game. Even a couple of suits were being shown off early. It was looking great. Not long after, the 20th of October arrives. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is finally available worldwide as a PS5 exclusive. Now, unless if you didn't read the title, I'm not here to talk about the game's story or its massive success. I'm here to talk about what went wrong. Now, this may sound crazy to some people, but unless if you were living under a rock, many months ago you would know that out of nowhere this game became universally hated by many. But how did this happen? Well, let's head back to the most rigged gaming event of all time, the Game Awards. No! I am not saying this because Spider-Man 2 lost Game of the Year. It never even had the chance to be a winner, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm not saying that to hate on Baldur's Gate 3. It deserved that Game of the Year. Just look back at previous awards and try to tell me it ain't rigged. Spider-Man 2 was nominated 7 times and ended up getting nothing. Poor Yuri Lowenthal. He should have won Best Performance. Rigged ass event, I tell you. It wasn't great to be a Spider-Man 2 fan during this time, and no, I'm not saying that because of the many awards it didn't get, but mainly due to how easily people switched up on the game. I swear, going on the internet as a Spider-Man 2 fan was brutal as many hate was thrown at the game. It was crazy how within 2 months this game went from being one of the most praised games ever to being one of the most hated, all because of the Game Awards. But was some of this hate valid though? That's where it gets a little complicated. But I will say for the most part, I think many of the criticism that fans had with this game was very fair in my opinion. For one, the story is something a lot of people aren't a fan of, and I'm kind of one of those people. You see, part of me really likes the beginning of the game. It feels really well paced, many of the characters feel fleshed out, and overall, it pretty much felt like the first game. Although maybe this is just me, but I feel like once Peter gets the symbiote suit, the pacing and everything I loved from the beginning of the game is just thrown out the window. Now, is this me saying this is the worst game I ever played? No! And if you're someone who says this is the worst game you ever played in terms of story writing, please play more games, because I can guarantee you there is worse games than Spider-Man 2. But I will admit there is pacing issues with this game. Almost makes many think this is a safe sequel, although I'd have to disagree. For the most part, yeah, this game does feel pretty toned down compared to the first, but once you get to that third act, it really gets me thinking, was this really a safe sequel? Now, if this is the case, I can't really blame Insomniac Games since I believe many had super high expectations for the game, so I guess they just best believe they should have played it safe. That's just a little thought of mine, if this game was really meant to be a safe sequel, of course, but I highly doubt it. Another issue many players had was the lack of side missions or just content overall compared to the first, and I gotta agree there was little to no content after you beat this game. Like, I was able to get the platinum for this game in only 2 days, which for a full price game, that's pretty bad in my opinion. But some may think otherwise. It also doesn't help that most side missions were not that interesting or good compared to the first. For me, I feel like some were insanely wasted potential, some were just really dumb, and some were just really boring. Like, compared to the first, I think the first easily had much more better side missions, and this game kind of just like, no words can express it. I don't know. Like, they just made very, very bad side missions in my personal opinion. Mainly a huge issue that many players had with this game was Venom himself, and that might come off as a shock to you. Some felt like he was rushed and didn't have enough time to gain some sort of character development. Some even hated how he was a villain instead of an anti-hero like he is in the comics. Even though y'all hated Tom Hardy's Venom back in 2018, even though he is quite literally what Venom is supposed to be, an anti-hero, and is easily one of the most comic accurate versions of the character. But no, y'all wanted him to be evil like Topher Grace's Venom, but now that you have that in Spider-Man 2, it's such a big fucking issue? Like, can y'all make up your goddamn mind, you comic book nerds? Sorry, once again. I could go on and on about this, but I could make this a whole separate video if I really wanted to, so I will pipe down. I will admit there was a lot more stuff that people were very mixed with when it came to this game, but if I were to cover every single thing, we would be here forever. So to simplify this, I'm gonna just speedrun through some and let you know my personal thoughts on them. Number 1, some side missions being really dumb. I agree with this one 100%, only because of that one mission with the robot dog that belonged to Kraven. It was sweet, and I do understand like the message it was trying to send, but honestly there's just a lot of reasons that make it dumb, and to me it just really felt like one of those missions that were just stupid in my opinion. Number 2, lack of suits. Once again, I agree, due to the fact that a good majority of Peter's suits from the first game never made the cut because they wanted him and Miles to have the same amount of suits. I was never a big fan of this decision. I think it was stupid, dumb, like, yeah, I never liked it. Number 3, the open world feeling lackluster. I'm 50-50 on this because it is a pretty nice addition and it does add a bunch of cool places like Coney Island, but when I'm swinging around, I feel like I rarely visit the other part of the map. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I go around. For the 4th and final one, a lot of stuff missing on launch. This one's an absolute no-brainer. If you played this game on launch, you would know that a lot of key features like being able to change the time of day, and mission replayability were never available, and I don't really know why. It was very strange to me that this stuff was never included in launch, but I mean, hey, all we had to do was wait like 6 months to get it. That wait wasn't fun either. There's more to go around, but I figured for this video I'd cover the main problems most people had with the game, as these seem to be the main points of criticism I found during my research of this video. The main problem many people had with the story was its pacing, and many other things felt too rushed for players. And while I'm not a great writer, here are some changes I'd make to make the story personally a bit more interesting for me. First, flesh out Peter's symbiote arc more. To me, this arc felt really rushed when I played the game again, but mainly I don't like this line that he delivers.
I need this suit. It makes me a better Spider-Man.
Now, this may be a personal issue, but I never understood why he said this, because from what we experienced, I feel like Insomniac's version of Peter Parker hasn't gone through hell unlike other iterations of the character. Like, him saying this feels very off. So what would I do to fix this? It's rather simple. That line delivery gets you thinking that he must have made many mistakes as Spider-Man to get him like this. So what I do is in the beginning of the game during the Sandman attack, I would have had it that many died during that incident and Peter tries to save some but ultimately fails in the end. I'd also remove the part where Harry helps Peter at Coney Island. Remember those 2 citizens he was so close to not saving? I would have had it that he never got Harry's help and instead never had the chance to save him. I believe doing this would have screwed up Peter mentally and would have made that line delivery so much better as he failed to save those people, which would end in him blaming himself. Obviously, I think the symbiote could have given him that mindset that it was all his fault and he would have been thinking like that, but once Miles helps him get it off, he realizes that, like, you know what, like, I can't think like that, you know, it's bad for me. And like, I think him and Miles could have had like a moment where Miles helps him out, which he kind of did do that after he got the symbiote suit. But like with how Miles is towards the Peter, I definitely think we could have had like a little moment with them where he just had his back, you know, and was there for like just to support him. I think it would have been nice to see. I'd also flesh out Venom himself. When Harry finds out more about the symbiote and what it could really do, that's obviously when we see him as Agent Venom, which was really cool in my opinion. I think this was extremely awesome to see in the game. The problem is that it's only around for 2 missions, which really made me feel underwhelmed. This really should have been around for way longer. I don't know why it was gone so soon. But that's okay because we got him as Venom. But I feel like his Venom wasn't great either. He wasn't bad or horrible, but he wasn't great as well. He's kind of just there in the middle. He's okay. I would have fleshed out Harry's bond with the symbiote, as I feel like its obsession with him could have meant a lot more way later on in the game, where he eventually gets it and turns into the big bad himself. With the many new villains that were introduced in this game, it really makes me wish they were around for a lot more longer. What I would have done is I would have just given them a lot more to do. Because I mean, remember the first game how we had the Sinister Six with Scorpion, Vulture, Rhino, Electro, Lee, and Doc Ock? I feel like when they were taking over New York, they honestly had a lot more opened up about it. We found out a lot more about the characters and what they were after, and I was really hoping we'd see that again with this game, as it was going to introduce so many new villains. But at the end, I feel like the only really interesting villain was just Kraven. I feel like he generally had a goal and we knew what he wanted. Lizard, I mean, yeah, Kirk Connors didn't want to become the Lizard again, but I think he easily could have had a lot more to do in the story. It just kind of sucks how he turns into the Lizard. We fight him once and then he's gone for the rest of the game. And then I already expressed my opinion about Venom. Honestly, I just don't think we're ever going to see the Lizard or Kraven again, which is just rather unfortunate. For my final change I would have done one of 2 things for this. Either one, I would have made it that Yuri was part of the main story, or I would have made it that Yuri was part of the main story instead of Black Cat. This was easily one of my biggest disappointments by far, as with the ending of the Turf Wars DLC, it really had us thinking, what would Yuri be like when she eventually returned? And sadly, I felt disappointed with how she was written. Maybe it's just me, but I felt like she was the exact same since the last time we saw her. I would go as far to say that she was way more interesting in the Turf Wars DLC rather than those 4 side missions with her in Spider-Man 2. Now, was she horribly written? Absolutely not. I still enjoyed the time we had with her for the most part, but that ending, I was really expecting something huge from her in the story for this game, And in the end, I was pretty let down when she was just tossing some side missions. Like, look, I love Black Cat. She is fine as fuck. But her story mission should have been a side mission, and Yuri should have had some sort of relation with the story. Now, these changes aren't perfect. As a matter of fact, I actually think some of these changes are freaking awful. But I thought it would be fun to share my thoughts on what I would have liked to see in this game's story. I mean, hey, if y'all made it this far, why don't you leave a comment down below telling me what you would have liked to see in this game's story. I would definitely like to see what y'all would have wanted. Look, before y'all want to worry, don't. I'm not here to complain about the DLC like what other people on the internet have been doing, but I'm only here to talk about its current state, so keep that in mind. The DLC in this game is a weird story. You see, back when Spider-Man Run released, it got DLC only after a month of its release. Miles Morales, on the other hand, never got DLC, but that isn't much of a surprise due to it being a much more smaller game compared to Spider-Man 1. So now that we have Spider-Man 2, we all could have assumed that DLC would come soon, right? So where the hell is it? Now, for obvious reasons, I can't show any images related to this since I'm 99% sure this video would get taken down, but I should be good talking about it. Now, as if Spider-Man 2 losing on those 7 nominations wasn't bad enough, on December 12, 2023, Insomniac Games suffered a huge leak that not only revealed tons of personal information from multiple employees working there, but also leaking their roadmap from 2023 up until 2033. Yeah, it was bad. With that, many stuff was revealed for the upcoming future of Insomniac Games' Spider-Man universe. A whole multiplayer game was leaked, which sadly was cancelled, so we probably will never see it, but it did look awesome. We also did see a potential Venom standalone game that is set to come out next year, so hopefully it does happen. But there it was, the main thing that everyone was looking for. A whole roadmap for Spider-Man 2's future, revealing all of its DLC. From the leak, all we could tell is that this would be very similar to the first game's DLC, 3 short stories with its own side missions and crimes. First one would have featured Beetle, but from many sources it seems that it actually would have been his daughter, which I'm not even sure if Beetle has a daughter. If he's a thing from the comics, I don't read the comics at all, so you know. Yeah, I only know him through the Ultimate Spider-Man show, so please don't get mad at me if he actually does have a daughter, because I never knew that. The second one would have been based around Carnage, which ain't too much of a surprise since his storyline was set up in one of the side missions of Spider-Man 2, and the third and final one would have been set in the Spider-Verse, which is obviously what the Spider-Bots mission set up. Sadly though, this is all we know, and strangely enough, by now all 3 DLCs should have been out, but they ain't. So what does this mean? If you want my honest opinion, I believe it was cancelled, which sucks to say, but on top of the whole leak back in December 12th, on February 28th, they went through a massive layoff which screwed them over even harder. To many, it has actually been speculated that Insomniac Games need to release their next big project to remain profitable, and from what we know, the Wolverine game is their next big thing. And just due to the layoffs, I think they just decided to put their full focus onto the game, which leads many to believe that the DLC is no more. Hopefully, that is not the case though. This is one discussion I have seen with the community as we near its 1-year anniversary. Would this game have been better off if it was delayed? Honestly, yeah, this game should have been delayed 100%. Fun fact, when the big leak happened a while back, it was shown that they originally wanted this game to release early 2025, and I think this would have been perfect for the game. Now, I won't go into full detail, but just go search up on the internet this game's test footage and leaks and you'll agree that this should have been delayed. If I'm being honest, I don't even think Insomniac wanted to rush this out due to what never made it in the final cut of the game. Knowing Sony, I believe that they rushed them to get it done, and the reason why I think that is because if this game was still in the middle of development during the layoffs, I wouldn't be surprised to hear if this game was just a mess during that time. If that were to happen to this game, I think this would have honestly suffered a bad fate, but I'm glad it never went down that path. Hey, I just thought I'd let y'all know that I am recording a completely different outro now because a few hours ago while I was editing this, we got some news related with this game, so let's talk about it. And it's something that fans aren't very happy with. First of all, Insomniac Games officially revealed today at New York Comic Con that Spider-Man 2 will be coming to PC on January 30th next year, which for PC players is pretty good. A lot of people who bought a PS5 specifically for this game aren't really that happy, but this was bound to happen eventually, so I think it is cool that it's finally coming to PC only after a year of the release. I think it's pretty neat. But they revealed one thing. They made a PlayStation blog. I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with those. If you aren't, it's still like little, I guess, news articles they make when they reveal something new, like something big. And there was an article, it was Insomniac talking about the game and how they partnered with this company to bring it to life on PC. But then they reveal somewhere that Spider-Man 2 has no planned future story content, which in simple words pretty much confirms that this game is not going to have DLC. I expected this 100% because, as I said back when I was talking about the DLC, with the layoffs and just with the DLC itself getting leaked, this was bound to happen. I'm pretty sure the layoffs was like the final straw, because if I'm being completely honest, I have a feeling they were working on this during the layoffs, or like before the layoffs happened, and then once the layoffs kind of like came around, they were like, you know what, it's been leaked, we're already struggling enough with the layoffs, I think we should just cancel this and focus on the Wolverine game. As I said, I think they're like fully prioritizing Wolverine right now, and if they are, I really don't mind. I'm excited for the game, but I did expect the DLC to meet this fate, sadly. And honestly, if I have to give my honest opinion on this, I'm pretty disappointed. Mainly so that, I just want to say I still enjoy this game, right? I'm not going to switch up on it. I never will. But I will be honest, with the more time that passes by, the more I understand why people are genuinely so disappointed, or right, people, I'm going to just say it, straight up hate this game. I think some people are too harsh and treat this like the worst thing ever. But honestly, I could understand disappointment, and I myself feel a little disappointed. But I mean, at the end of the day, this at least does take us one step closer to Spider-Man 3. So hopefully we could see it within the next couple of years or so. And hopefully it's a vast improvement over this one, because I will admit this game did have a bunch of issues. But that ends off today's video. I was actually very excited working on this. So, if y'all actually really enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Share this with any friends who may be interested in watching this. Subscribe. It's all up to you. I really do appreciate the support. This was a super fun video to make, and I hope I can make more like this in the future. So if y'all would like that, leave a comment down below. And until next time, y'all take care, and I'll see you guys later.
Warriors around, don't get caught in the mosh pit. Fuel to the fire, ain't nobody can stop it. Trouble in my city, but I'm across it. Got a 40 on my hip, and I'm liable to spark it. Throw down these hits, my click is indivisible. I aim, you duck, I squeeze, now you invisible. I'm not afraid of getting physical. All these different chemicals are fogging up my visuals. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we notorious, we ain't no runners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we some warriors, they ain't called gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Put on my strap, put on the beat, put on the